Welcome to Adventurin 101. I'm Uncle Cletus. I fought and killed damn near everything across the 9 realms, and it's my job to keep you alive. Today we are talking about kobolds. Nox, what do you know about kobolds?
The Western Kobold or the Eastern Kobold?
I thought there was only one kind of kobold. You know, the little scaly lizard guys.
That is the Western Kobold, and that's the one we're talking about today.
Wait, what's the Eastern Kobold then?
They're still tiny creatures, but they got wet noses and fur. They're quite cute, to be honest, but they're not what we're talking about today. So what do y'all know about the Western Kobold?
Just that they serve dragons, dig tunnels, and they're pretty low on my list of potential threats.
Well, let's just see where they end up after today's lecture. Now, kobolds, kinku, and goblins all belong to a group collectively known as just little guys. But that is monster propaganda, and I will not stand for it. Kobolds are downright deadly under the right set of circumstances, and where there's kobolds, there's dragons. So you need to know your enemy. Frog, how are kobolds made?
When a mommy kobold and a daddy kobold love each other very much.
No, well... Technically, probably yes, but kobolds are hatched from eggs, and they mature to adulthood very quickly, usually within a year or so.
Since they mature so quickly, do they have short lifespans?
Well, the average kobold doesn't live past age 10, but technically they can live up to 100 years old and become the kobold equivalent of a great worm.
So I've been killing children this whole time?
Remember, they mature quickly, so you've probably been killing teenagers, and honestly, who hasn't wanted to do that at least once in their life?
Why don't kobolds live past 10?
Because individually, kobolds are weak little creatures, and they make delicious snacks for the things that live underground. And because they're so weak, kobolds have learned to work together.
Like ants.
Precisely. One ant is nothing, but step on an anthill and you'll quickly find out that that one ant has a lot of little friends.
Are kobolds always red?
No, kobolds have as many color variations as the dragons themselves do, but 9.5 times out of 10, their scales will resemble a chromatic dragon. That other 0.5, they'll either be a metallic or a crystal dragon.
So if we encounter a fleet of red kobolds, does that mean there's a red dragon nearby?
Not necessarily. Kobolds do tend to serve dragons that look like them, but a red kobold might also serve other fire-breathing dragons, like gold dragons or brass dragons.
That seems kind of colorist.
Don't get ahead of me, boy. We'll get there. But technically, kobolds don't usually see color, because they have excellent dark vision, and they don't use torches when they're running around their warrens. Unfortunately, their dark vision is so good that they suffer from the same thing that white men with light-colored eyes do: sunlight sensitivity.
I do always sneeze when I step outside on a sunny day. Maybe you're 3 kobolds in a trench coat. I don't even own a trench coat. Were you hatched from an egg? You know my mom is an amorphous blob. I was not hatched.
Is it even possible for kobolds to mate with anyone outside their species?
I suppose if the other parent species also laid eggs, you could probably get some kind of weird mix. Like, you could probably get a half dragonborn, half kobold, or even a half Githyanki, half kobold. But even if they could mix, they probably wouldn't, because kobold society is incredibly xenophobic.
Like ants.
Where are kobolds typically found?
Anywhere a dragon lives, though usually underground in their warrens.
What's a warren? A system of interconnected burrows. What's a burrow? How are you a wizard?
Now, regardless of where kobolds live in the world, kobold society is practically identical everywhere. There are 3 main pillars of kobold society: their worship of Tiamat and the dragons, their hatred of gnomes,
Hey!
and their strong community bonds.
Kobolds have gods?
Yes, kobolds worship 2 different gods, and they revere dragons as demigods. Now obviously, Tiamat is their main deity, but they also have a patron deity known as Kurtulmak.
Who is Tiamat?
The dragon goddess of greed.
Correct. And because they worship Tiamat, kobolds create their own hordes, much like the dragons do.
Then why are their hordes always so pathetic?
Because where there's kobolds, there's dragons, and dragons always want what's best for themselves. So kobolds are usually only allowed to hoard copper, maybe a single silver piece, and any useless magic items that the dragon didn't care to keep.
Who is Kurtulmak?
Kurtulmak is the first kobold who served Tiamat, and he's the patron deity of all of the kobolds. Now they believe that he created the rest of the kobolds and taught them how to survive. And just like Kurtulmak served Tiamat, all kobolds aspire to serve dragons as well.
So why do kobolds hate gnomes? We're so jolly and cute And we make cookies.
Well, Kobold legend says that Kurtulmak served as Tiamat's vassal in the Nine Hells. That is, until the gnome god Garl Glittergold stole a trinket from Tiamat's hoard. Now, when Tiamat sent Kurtulmak to go retrieve that trinket, Garl Glittergold played a trick on him and trapped him in an underground maze for eternity.
That's all? It was just a silly prank.
Kobolds don't see it that way. In fact, they abhor pranks because of your god's trickery.
A whore?
No, a Kara. While they hate gnomes especially, kobolds are a weak race, so they fear all outsiders, and that fear makes them very xenophobic, but it also drives a sense of community, leading to a very famous kobold saying, "A lone kobold is a dead kobold."
Like ants.
Sure, and just like ants, kobolds build an intricate system of tunnels to confuse invaders and to keep the pack safe. Then they fill those tunnels with a bunch of nasty traps meant to hinder their assailants. Now, in addition to all those traps, kobolds also build in natural ambush spots so that they can attack those assailants in greater numbers.
Wow, that's terrifying, but also really organized. It seems like kobolds are really protective of one another.
Well, unless those kobolds have wings.
What do you mean?
Rome, how many kinds of kobolds are there?
One?
No, a Kara. Boy, I already told you there are two kinds of kobolds, Eastern kobolds and Western kobolds, so you should have said at least two. Now, of the Western variant, there are two variants within them. There are kobolds, the short, scaly little buggers, and then there are kobolds with wings, also known as urds.
I have a cousin with GERD.
Urd, not gird, a Kara. Now, both of these kobolds are basically the same, but winged kobolds have been blessed by Tiamat, and the wingless kobolds are envious of the Urd's favor, so that is why they don't get along.
So there can be kobolds and urds in the same tribe?
Yes, but most of the time Urds are treated as second-class citizens.
You'd think they'd be treated like the chosen ones.
You'd think so, but envy, it's a hell of a drug. Plus, the Urd's god, Kuralyek, used to serve Kurtulmak until he betrayed him, and now the Urds are treated badly in retaliation for that betrayal.
I suppose if you only live to young adulthood, you don't have much time to learn the art of forgiveness.
Yes, they should really learn to live and let live.
Is that how you feel about the Keeblers?
That's different. They stole our cookie recipe, and my children and my children's children will never forget the slight.
Boy, holding grudges is like drinking wyvern poison and then expecting somebody else to die. Now, whether it's a kobold or an Urd, both of them don't normally make it past 10 years old. But if they do make it past 10 years old, they might become a dragon shield, an inventor, or a scale sorcerer.
What do you mean?
Dragon shields are chosen by a dragon and given power specifically to protect a dragon's eggs.
So, a nursery guard.
Yes, it's a very respectable position amongst the kobolds. Now, dragon shields are excellent at hand-to-hand combat, and they also wield a shield made of their dragon's scales. They have resistance to whatever element their dragon's breath is, and they also have the ability to rally themselves and others when they're frightened or paralyzed.
That is pretty respectable.
Now, kobold inventors create most of the new traps to protect a tribe. They also fight with traps during combat.
How do they do that?
Well, I once fought a kobold who had a skunk trapped in a cage, and during our fight, he opened that cage and released the skunk at me.
That doesn't seem very effective.
Not all traps have to be deadly. That skunk caused enough chaos during the fight for that kobold to get away. That's a crafty little creature.
Nox, make sure you add skunks to your list.
Already done.
Now, if a kobold has a talent for magic, they might become a scale sorcerer, which is where the xenophobia and the envy come back into play. Now, if a kobold doesn't have wings and it becomes a scale sorcerer, they put on a pair of fake wings as a sign of their rank.
And the rest of the tribe doesn't hate him.
No, actually, scale sorcerers are very respected members of their community. They normally fill the role of advisor and will sometimes serve as the dragon's mouthpiece, issuing commands to other kobolds on the dragon's behalf.
So fake wings are respected, but real wings are disdained.
Kobolds don't make much sense, do they?
Xenophobia never makes sense, son. There's no point in trying to understand it. But if Urds become scale sorcerers, they're also given the rank of advisor and become a little bit more respected within their communities. Admittedly, though, not by much. Nox, where is the best place to fight a kobold?
Out in the open.
Close. You want to fight kobolds anywhere within the light of day.
Why?
Well, remember that little sunlight sensitivity thing? When kobolds are in direct sunlight, they have disadvantage on attacks, as well as perception checks that rely on sight. But since you'll rarely see a kobold outside its warren, let's talk about how to survive fighting kobolds with my patented STD system.
Oh, my first vulgar acronym.
Are we gonna have to see a cleric after this?
No, you're fighting them, not screwing them. Besides, they're xenophobic and y'all wouldn't stand a chance anyway. Now, STD stands for separate, traps, and daylight or darkness.
So technically there are 2 Ds in this system.
The second D is silent. Now hush. When you're fighting kobolds, the most important thing is to keep the pack separated.
Because a lone kobold is a dead kobold?
Precisely. Kobolds always fight in packs, and because they're good at it, they get advantage on those attack rolls. So you want to get kobolds alone, or make it so that you're never surrounded by 2 or more kobolds at one time. But if you are surrounded, you want to focus on 1 or 2 kobolds at a time. That way you can break pack tactics and force those little buggers to run away.
They'll just run away?
Kobolds are very cowardly by nature. If they get too hurt, or if their numbers dwindle too fast, they will flee. Now T stands for traps. You need to check for them constantly, because kobolds fill their warrens with traps meant to hinder and harm all invaders. Now the most common traps are bone alarms, pots of green slime, and spike pits, but kobolds are also known to rig natural disasters like fallen rocks or rooms that flood and wash you away.
Or swords that pop up when you open a door. Huh, I guess it's fine.
Freaking kobolds!
I'd forgotten about that.
Now you want to be especially careful when a trap causes you to slow down or come to a dead end.
Why is that?
Because kobolds will ambush you at any opportunity, and what better way to take down a giant than to hit him while he's down.
Clever little buggers.
Never underestimate the small.
Now the D in STD stands for daylight or darkness. Remember, kobolds have excellent dark vision, and the last thing you want to do when you go into their tunnels is give away your position.
But I don't have dark vision, so I have to use a torch.
Or you're a wizard. Use the dark vision spell.
I should have thought of that. Really, how are you a wizard?
If you absolutely must use light, use the daylight spell, so that way you use their sunlight sensitivity against them.
That's genius.
I know, bitch. Now that y'all know about kobolds and how to fight them, I got an assignment for you. Miss Tilly's been complaining about some kobolds rooting around in her basement, so I need all 3 of you to go over there and exterminate them.
Didn't we just help her get rid of a mimic recently?
Frog, this is the perfect opportunity for you to try out the barbarian class as well. Why don't you borrow some gear from Tiffany at the front desk and head out. Class dismissed.
Hey y'all, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed Adventuring 101, let me know in the comments below, and like, subscribe, and share these with your friends, because I love making them, and the more you love them, the more I'll make. If you also have some requests for what you'd want me to do for Adventuring 101, put those in the comments and I'll put it on my backlog. Anyway, if you want to support me on Patreon or TikTok or any of my other platforms, you can find the link for my link tree down in the description. Otherwise guys, I'll see y'all in the next one.